Right now, somewhere on Earth, an animal is surviving conditions that would kill you in minutes, not hours, minutes. While you're comfortable in your climate-controlled environment, there are creatures enduring temperatures that could boil water, freeze flesh, or burn skin on contact. But here's what's truly remarkable. They're not just surviving, they're thriving. Welcome to the 7 levels of extreme survival. By the end of this journey, you'll question everything you thought you knew about the limits of life on Earth. Let's begin where most life ends, in the furnace, the Sahara Desert. The sun hasn't even reached its peak, and the ground temperature is already 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to fry an egg in under 3 minutes. By midday, the air will reach 122 degrees. There's no shade, no water for hundreds of miles. The humidity is less than 10%, sucking moisture from anything living. Most mammals would be dead in 6 hours, but some animals call this inferno home. Meet the fennec fox. Those oversized ears aren't just cute, they're survival technology. Packed with blood vessels, they act as natural radiators, releasing body heat into the night air. But here's what makes them truly remarkable. This fox can live its entire life without drinking a single drop of water. Not one sip. How? It extracts every molecule of moisture from its prey, insects, rodents, plants. Its kidneys produce incredibly concentrated urine, wasting nothing. And those furry paws, natural insulation against sand that can reach 170 degrees. The fennec fox hunts only at night when temperatures drop, spending daylight hours in burrows that stay 30 degrees cooler than the surface. It's a masterclass in desert adaptation. Now meet one of the rarest large mammals on Earth, the addax antelope. This ghost of the desert has a superpower that sounds like fiction. It can change the color of its coat with the seasons. White in summer to reflect the brutal heat. Grayish-brown in winter for warmth. But the real magic happens inside. The addax can lower its metabolic rate dramatically, slowing its entire system to conserve water and energy. It can detect moisture in the air and absorb it through specialized nasal passages. Those wide, splayed hooves, perfect snowshoes for soft sand. And get this, the addax can smell rain from over 50 miles away and will travel for days to reach it. It's been observed going months without drinking, getting all its water from desert plants that would seem bone dry to us. But perhaps the most elusive desert warrior is the sandcat. So rare, scientists didn't capture footage of one in the wild until 2015. Look at its paws, covered in fur. Not for warmth, but for insulation against sand that reaches 160 degrees. It's literally walking on a hot griddle. The sandcat survives temperature swings from 23 degrees to 126 degrees Fahrenheit. All its water comes from the blood of its prey. It's a perfectly designed predator for a perfectly hostile world. These desert survivors have mastered extreme heat. But what happens when the challenge isn't heat, but its opposite? When the very air freezes before you breathe it? Welcome to Level 2. From fire to ice, minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's where Fahrenheit and Celsius meet. Where your breath crystallizes instantly. Where exposed skin develops frostbite in under 5 minutes. The wind chill can drop temperatures to minus 90. At those extremes, metal shatters. Fuel freezes solid. Nothing man-made functions properly. And yet, life persists. Welcome to the Arctic tundra. Welcome to Level 2. The Arctic fox is built for this frozen hell, that thick white coat. It's the warmest fur of any mammal on Earth. Multiple layers trap air, creating an insulation system so effective that Arctic foxes don't even begin to shiver until temperatures hit -94 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me repeat that, -94 degrees. But the real genius is in their legs. Blood vessels operate in a countercurrent exchange system. Warm blood flowing down heats the cold blood returning up, preventing heat loss while keeping their pores just warm enough to avoid frostbite. They maintain a core temperature of 104 degrees in an environment that's 140 degrees colder. That's like standing in an industrial freezer while keeping your internal organs summer warm. And when blizzards hit, they don't hide. They hunt, following polar bears, scavenging seals, digging through feet of snow for lemmings. Nothing stops them. But for pure Arctic endurance, nothing beats the muskox. These living fortresses have barely changed in 600,000 years. Why? Because they perfected survival during the Ice Age. That shaggy coat hanging to their knees? It's called kivyat, 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. The guard hairs are the longest of any animal, creating a thermal skirt that seals in body heat. Watch what happens when a storm approaches. They form a circle, adults on the outside, calves protected in the center. They can stand like this for days without eating, barely moving, just enduring. Winds howl at 60 miles per hour, driving snow like tiny daggers, and they simply wait. Their hooves have sharp edges for breaking through ice to reach frozen vegetation. They'll eat willows and grasses frozen solid, somehow extracting enough nutrition to maintain their 800-pound bodies. In summer, they gain 200 pounds. In winter, they can lose it all and survive. They're living batteries, storing energy for months of darkness. But if you want to see Arctic perfection, look up the snowy owl, one of the largest owls in the world, and one of the only birds that survives year-round in the Arctic. Every inch is covered in feathers, even its talons. Full-body insulation that no other owl possesses. But the real adaptation? It's hearing. It can detect a lemming moving under 2 feet of snow. Its eyesight can spot prey from over a mile away in dim Arctic twilight. And it hunts in conditions that ground every other bird. Blizzards, whiteouts, brutal winds. When other predators take shelter, the snowy owl is on the hunt. We've conquered heat and cold, but what about the air itself? What happens when every breath is a struggle, when the oxygen you need is in desperately short supply? We're going higher, much higher. Level 3 awaits. Take a deep breath. Now imagine getting only 60% of the oxygen you just inhaled. Your head throbs, your vision blurs. Every step feels like climbing stairs with weights strapped to your legs. This is 14,000 feet. Now go higher. 18,000 feet. 20,000 feet. Up here, unacclimatized humans can develop cerebral edema and die within hours. Most animals couldn't survive a single day at these altitudes, but some were born here. They live their entire lives in this oxygen-starved world. Welcome to the Himalayas. Welcome to Level 3. The snow leopard, the ghost of the mountains. That tail, nearly as long as its body, it's not for balance alone. At night, when temperatures plummet, the snow leopard wraps that tail around its face like a scarf, warming the frigid air before it enters its lungs. But the invisible adaptations are even more impressive. Snow leopards have evolved enlarged nasal cavities and oversized lungs to extract every molecule of oxygen from thin mountain air. Their chest cavity is massive, housing lungs that would make an Olympic athlete envious. Watch it move across this vertical cliff. Those enormous paws distribute weight like natural snowshoes. It can leap 50 feet horizontally and 20 feet vertically, in thin air, on a mountain, while hunting prey. They hunt blue sheep and ibex on slopes so steep that humans need technical climbing gear. And they do it at altitudes where helicopters struggle to maintain lift. A snow leopard can take down prey 3 times its weight at 18,000 feet, where most humans can barely walk without gasping. But for altitude endurance, nothing compares to the yak. These massive animals regularly graze at 20,000 feet. Some have been spotted at 23,000 feet. That's higher than Mount Kilimanjaro. That's approaching Everest's death zone. Their blood is fundamentally different. Yak hemoglobin binds oxygen more efficiently at low atmospheric pressure. Their red blood cells are smaller but more numerous, creating more surface area for oxygen absorption. Their hearts are proportionally larger, pumping more blood with each beat. Their lungs contain more capillaries than lowland cattle, extracting every possible oxygen molecule. Watch this yak climb. That's not a trail, that's nearly vertical rock. Their split hooves have soft, grippy center pads. They're biological mountaineers, evolved for terrain that terrifies mountain goats. And they're carrying loads while doing it. Yaks have been humanity's high-altitude partners for thousands of years, thriving where we can barely survive. But the true altitude champions don't walk these mountains, they fly over them. Bar-headed geese have been tracked flying at 29,000 feet. That's the cruising altitude of a commercial airliner. That's literally the summit of Mount Everest. How? Their lungs operate differently than any other bird. One-way airflow allows them to extract oxygen on both inhale and exhale. They're breathing the thinnest air on Earth and somehow getting enough oxygen for sustained flight. Their hemoglobin binds oxygen more tightly than any other bird. Their capillary density in flight muscles is extraordinary. Every cell is optimized for this impossible journey. They migrate twice a year, flying directly over the Himalayas in a single day of continuous flight. It's the shortest route, but it requires crossing the highest mountains on Earth. Thin air conquered. But what happens when the environment isn't just challenging, it's actively toxic? When the water boils, when the ground itself burns, we're descending into volcanic hell. Level 4. Water boiling at the surface. Air thick with sulfur that burns your lungs. Ground temperatures reaching 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The pH of the water matches battery acid. Gas is so toxic, one breath could be fatal. This isn't an alien planet. This is Earth's volcanic zones. Life should be impossible here. The chemistry is all wrong. The temperature is all wrong. Everything about these environments screams death. And yet, life has found a way. Welcome to Level 4, Lake Natron in Tanzania. A lake so caustic, it calcifies animals that die in it, turning them into salt statues. Water temperature, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. pH level, between 9 and 10.5. That's as alkaline as ammonia. Touch this water and your skin begins to burn. This is a death trap, unless you're a lesser flamingo. Over 2 million of them breed here. This toxic hellscape is the world's largest flamingo nursery. Why? because nothing else can survive. No predators, no competition. Their legs have evolved thick, scaly skin that resists the caustic water. But watch closely. They're constantly moving, lifting one leg at a time to cool and recover. Even flamingos can't stay in continuously. But here's the remarkable part. They depend on these conditions. The extreme alkalinity creates massive blooms of spirulina, a cyanobacteria that thrives here. That's what makes their feathers pink. That's what feeds their entire populate. The chicks are born with soft, vulnerable skin, so parents build nests from salt and mud, creating pedestals that lift babies above the burning water. Adults fly up to 200 miles round trip to bring fresh water, because even flamingos can't drink from Lake Natron. They've turned hell into a sanctuary. Now travel to the volcanic ranges of the Pacific Northwest. Mountain goats navigate terrain that's actively releasing volcanic gases. They graze on vegetation growing in soil heated by underground magma, where the ground can be hot enough to burn through boot soles. Watch this one cross an area releasing sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide. Invisible pockets of gas that would suffocate a human in seconds. How do they know where it's safe? Generational knowledge. Learned behavior passed down through observation. They know which areas have good airflow, which valleys are death traps. Why risk it? The volcanic soil is incredibly rich in minerals. The vegetation has higher concentrations of salts and nutrients than anywhere else in their range. It's dangerous, but nutritionally irresistible. Their hooves have split toes with rough, grippy pads for loose volcanic rock. They scale near vertical cliffs covered in unstable terrain. They've turned treacherous volcanic zones into exclusive feeding grounds that predators won't follow them into. Toxic water, poisonous gases, burning ground. These animals have adapted to hellish conditions created by Earth over millions of years. But what happens when the danger is invisible? When it's not natural but man-made? When the very atoms in the environment have been split apart? We're entering the zone, a place frozen in time, where an entire civilization simply stopped, and somehow, against all logic, wildlife is thriving there. Level 5 will challenge everything you thought possible. April 26, 1986. Chernobyl nuclear power plant, Ukraine. Reactor number 4 explodes. In seconds, the worst nuclear disaster in history releases 400 times more radiation than Hiroshima. An entire city evacuated. 150,000 people forced to abandon their homes forever. The radiation was so intense, they measured it in banana equivalent doses. It would take eating 80 million bananas to equal what was released here. Scientists predicted this land would be dead for 20,000 years. Trees turned red and died. Soil became poison. Even the robots sent to clean up failed, their circuits fried by invisible radiation. This should be a wasteland. A dead zone where nothing grows, nothing moves, nothing lives. They were wrong. The Chernobyl exclusion zone is now one of Europe's most thriving wildlife reserves. And what lives here is changing our understanding of survival itself. Welcome to Level 5. Grey wolves. They now roam the empty streets of Pripyat, the abandoned city frozen in time. And here's what defies logic. The Chernobyl exclusion zone has 7 times more wolves than comparable uncontaminated reserves. 7 times. In the most radioactive place on Earth, These wolves are absorbing radiation levels that would be lethal to humans. Their DNA should be destroyed, they should have cancer, they should be dead. Instead, they're thriving. The population is exploding. They're hunting, breeding, raising healthy pups. Scientists studying these wolves have discovered something extraordinary. In just 38 years, less than 40 generations, they've developed genetic mutations that appear to protect them from radiation damage. Some wolves show evidence of supercharged DNA repair mechanisms. Others have changes in genes linked to cancer resistance. It's evolution on fast forward, adaptation in real time. But here's the truly mind-bending part. Without humans, this irradiated landscape has become a paradise. No hunting, no habitat destruction, no roads, no pollution from industry. The radiation that should have sterilized all life has actually created one of Europe's largest wildlife sanctuaries. These wolves have discovered that radioactive wilderness is preferable to living alongside humans. But wolves aren't alone. Przewalski's horses, the last truly wild horses on Earth, have been reintroduced here. These horses went extinct in the wild in the 1960s. Scientists reintroduced them to several protected locations, including Chernobyl. Here, they're thriving better than anywhere else. They graze in the red forest, named because radiation turned thousands of pine trees bright orange before killing them. The soil here contains some of the highest radiation levels in the entire zone. Studies show they're absorbing significant amounts of radioactive cesium and strontium. It's in their tissues, their cells, their bones. This should be catastrophic. Instead, the population is growing. Foals are born healthy. The herd is expanding into areas where humans can't safely spend more than a few minutes. Scientists are studying their biology intensively. Some show elevated antioxidants. Others have mutations in DNA repair genes. They're not immune to radiation, but they're tolerating it in ways we didn't think possible. And then there are the radioactive wild boar. These animals root through contaminated soil, eating mushrooms and truffles that have absorbed radioactive isotopes. Some individuals are so radioactive, their meat would be illegal to sell anywhere in Europe. Too dangerous even for predators to consume safely. The boar don't care. Their population has exploded. They're larger than boar outside the zone, with some males exceeding 600 pounds. They've taken over abandoned villages, even the ghost city of Pripyat itself. They're thriving in soil that would require hazmat suits for humans to touch. They eat vegetation laced with radioactive particles. They wallow in contaminated water, and they're fine, better than fine. Chernobyl has taught us something profound. Life is more resilient than we imagined. Evolution doesn't stop. Adaptation can happen in decades, not millennia, but we're not finished. We've seen survival against heat, cold, altitude, poison and radiation. Now we face a different challenge, not one extreme, but the absence of something essential, something every living thing needs: water. Imagine 8 months without rain. 10 months, a full year. Welcome to level 6. The African dry season, 8 months without meaningful rainfall. Rivers become dust. Lakes evaporate. Every water source becomes a memory. Combine this with temperatures regularly exceeding 115 degrees Fahrenheit, and you have conditions that would kill most animals within days. But some species have turned this nightmare into their kingdom. They've evolved not just to survive drought, but to master it. These are the drought masters. Welcome to level 6, the African elephant. The largest land animal on Earth needs up to 50 gallons of water per day. In the dry season, that water simply doesn't exist above ground. So what do? They remember. The matriarch, the oldest female, carries a cognitive map passed down through generations. She remembers every water source across 1,000 square miles. She remembers which dry riverbeds have underground water. She knows where to dig. Watch. The herd has stopped at completely dry ground, but the matriarch knows. She digs with her tusks, trunk, and feet, 3 feet down, 4 feet, 5 feet deep, and then water appears. Elephants create wells in the desert, and it's not just for them. Dozens of other species benefit from these elephant-dug wells. They've literally engineered survival for entire ecosystems, but there's more. Elephants can detect water up to 12 miles away using infrasound. Vibrations in the ground below human hearing range. They communicate water locations across vast distances through calls so low-pitched, they travel through the earth itself. They can go 3 to 4 days without drinking in conditions that would kill most mammals in hours. The giraffe. That impossible neck isn't just for reaching high branches, it's a survival tool. Giraffes can go weeks without drinking water. Their secret? Acacia trees. The leaves have high water content, especially the tender shoots at the very top that only giraffes can reach. But when they do drink, it's a calculated risk. Watch this giraffe approach a water hole. See the hesitation? To drink, it must spread its front legs wide and lower that long neck, becoming completely vulnerable. Lions know this. Crocodiles know this. Every predator knows this is their moment. So giraffes have evolved to minimize drinking. They extract moisture from every leaf they eat. Their kidneys are remarkably efficient, producing highly concentrated urine. And that distinctive patchwork pattern. Those dark patches are rich in blood vessels that help regulate body temperature, dissipating heat without sweating away precious water. Their blood pressure is 2 to 3 times higher than other mammals, necessary to pump blood up that neck. Special valves prevent blood from rushing to the brain when they bend to drink. But for pure drought mastery, nothing beats the oryx. This antelope can survive 10 to 11 months without drinking, nearly a full year without water. They've evolved to let their body temperature fluctuate dramatically. Most mammals must maintain constant core temperature. The oryx can let its body heat up to 116 degrees during the day, storing heat instead of wasting water through sweating. At night, when temperatures drop, they release that stored heat through a specialized network of blood vessels that cools their brain. They extract moisture from plants, from morning dew, even from water vapor in the air they breathe. Their nasal passages capture moisture from exhaled breath, recycling it back into their bodies. But we've reached the precipice. Everything so far has been harsh, yes, extreme, absolutely, but still within Earth's natural cycles. Now we face the ultimate combination, not one extreme, not two, but multiple extremes stacked together into conditions that mirror alien worlds. This is it, level 7, the ultimate extremophile. The Atacama Desert in Chile, Death Valley in California, the high Andes Mountains. NASA tests Mars rovers here because these places are the closest thing to another planet. Parts of the Atacama haven't seen rain in over 400 years. Some weather stations have never recorded precipitation, ever. Death Valley holds the record for hottest temperature ever recorded, 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Ground temperatures can reach 200 degrees, now add altitude, 15,000 to 17,000 feet, where oxygen is 40% lower than sea level. Add extreme UV radiation with nothing to filter it. Soil so toxic it's laced with salts and perchlorates. Temperature swings of 100 degrees between day and night. This is level 7, multiple killing factors all stacked together. This is the closest Earth gets to uninhabitable. And yet, desert bighorn sheep in Death Valley. They live in the hottest, driest place in North America. These animals can lose 30% of their body weight in water and survive. Humans would be dead at 10% loss. They can drink 20% of their body weight in minutes when water is available, rehydrating almost instantly. Their kidneys produce urine twice as concentrated as humans, conserving every moment. Those massive curved horns, heat radiators. Their light coats reflect sunlight. They know every spring, every seep, every water source in a 20-mile radius. But here's what makes them level 7. They're navigating scorching heat, no water, treacherous cliffs, extreme UV, and 100-degree temperature swings, all simultaneously, every single day. 7 levels, 7 impossible environments, from deserts that melt flesh to tundra that freezes breath, from mountains where air becomes poison to volcanic hellscapes that burn and corrode, from radioactive wastelands to year-long droughts, and finally to places where every extreme combines. These animals have redefined what's possible. They've shown us that life isn't fragile, it's relentless. Evolution doesn't ask permission, it finds a way. The Earth has thrown everything at these creatures: fire, ice, poison, radiation, drought, and life has answered every challenge. These are the masters of extreme survival. And somewhere right now, evolution is already preparing for challenges we haven't even imagined yet. Thank you for joining this journey into the impossible.